Nigel. Well, good morning and welcome back to the channel. Yeah, something had to change. Something had to change. So in last week's vlog down at Ballintoy, which in fact is where I am again today, we had some pretty gnarly conditions, but we also had some pretty fantastic conditions as those storm squalls moved through. So I was kind of hopeful that I was going to get some images that I would be pleased with. Now, as I think I said in the vlog, and as you probably know, the sort of wider vista isn't always my forte, but when the conditions are like that, then you never look a gift storm horse in the mouth. Now, behind the scenes, I was battling the elements more than probably was coming across in the actual vlog itself. It was pretty gnarly, but even after the kind of worst of the weather had moved through and just left us in very windy conditions, I was still battling kit. And that's not a good thing for anyone, but especially for a photographer. Battle kit, if kit becomes an obstacle, you might as well just go home. Now, I knew that there was a percentage chance, 50-50, that the images were going to have technical issues with them. I wasn't commenting this really much on the vlog at all, but I knew in the back of my head that some of these images were perhaps going to not cut the mustard. And given the conditions that we had on the day, it was very difficult to kind of really pixel peep and kind of look too closely at the images on the back of the camera. Well, yeah, you guessed it. It was more than 50-50. I would say that most of the images, especially when we had the most dramatic of light, most of those images were technically flawed. And I came back, looked at them, and said, enough's enough. Time to change. Now, so unfortunately my kettle no longer whistles. It just bubbles and steams a lot. So let me get onto this first of all. Oh, and yes, still drinking out of the very twee VW mug. Anyway, where were we? So yeah, something had to change. And that was, well, firstly, my filters. Now, I've been using a certain brand of filters for a good number of years. In fact, at one point, I was even an ambassador to those filters. As I think I've mentioned in a number of previous vlogs, right from day one, the first sort of generation of the filters that I was using from this particular company, I always had a bit of an issue. I think the first generation of filters I had, you kind of had to piece everything together and including putting your own kind of gaskets on the back of the filters. I think the next generation of filters, I had an issue with the kind of holder. It was very difficult to tell for me anyway whether or not that holder was engaged or not. I didn't particularly have great kind of customer service from them either when I was reporting issues. So there was a whole manner of reasons behind that, which I kind of carried on just battling through. I wouldn't exactly say that the old money is free-flowing at the moment, being a freelance photographer. And so I was kind of just battling against it. But every time I went out into the field using these particular filters, I was always concerned that this next shoot was going to be the one that tipped me over the edge. And certainly last week, in last week's video, that's exactly what happened. Now, to give these filters their due kind of, or is it just to give them their due? Anyway, cut them some slack. They are a few years old, but I found keeping them clean was nigh on impossible, unless you kind of went back to home base and washed them down or put some sort of solution on them, whatever. But actually keeping them clean, and I've tried all manner of microfiber cloths out in the field, which clean my lenses perfectly well, but keeping the filters clean was almost impossible. On top of that, the polarizer, now I'm not sure whether you're going to be able to make that out. You probably can. So that's the polarizer having been cleaned at home. Kind of a scummy mess. That combined with keeping the filters clean on the actual square filters themselves, combined with the fact that I just didn't particularly like the design. I thought, enough's enough, Nigel. Time to change. Oh, and I had a bunch of these, and I guess now they're more fashion accessories or something. So, they actually destroyed kind of filter adapter on a couple of my lenses. Now, you might say, Nigel, that's just you being a complete idiot. Maybe it was. I don't know. But they actually destroyed the thread in a couple of my lenses. In fact, my 18-135 is currently in the fixer shop getting a bit of TLC and service action to it, mainly because that filter thread, I just poked myself in the eye there, that filter thread on the 18-135 was banjoed by one of these. Anyway, probably no surprises actually, as this company has in the last probably 2 years become almost the go-to in filters for landscape photographers, and I've held off and I've held off and I've held off, and I've spoken to a number of people who I trust in the landscape photography world who are currently using this particular brand of filters, and all of the feedback has been mostly glowing. I've also had, now sometimes I guess some people say that the feedback you get from a company when they're trying to sell you something versus the after support sales is widely different. But so far, my experience in the pre-sales side of things has been fantastic. Really sort of in-depth conversations with them as well, not trying to oversell. So quite pleased with that. But of course, the proof will be in getting outside, especially in pretty gnarly conditions, and seeing how things are. So no surprises there. Ended up going for the Case magnetic system. And I guess there's a couple of reasons for the magnetic system. Firstly, I don't tend to use graduated filters anymore. Now, when I'm shooting at the coast, I kind of sometimes wish I was still shooting a grad system, because not so much from a post-processing point of view. I think there's so many different types of software out there now that do a damn good job at piecing together different exposures, but actually seeing the image in the field. I really hope one day that the sort of high dynamic range that we see in mobile phones is brought to cameras, where at least you're not maybe making that image itself, but you can at least see what the image is going to look like with a 1 or a 2 stop sort of grad pull down over the sky. Or how about this? How about you could actually paint in or pull down a digital sort of grad on the back of the camera? Wouldn't necessarily shoot that over the actual frame itself, but just on the back of the camera. That would be nice to see. So I will miss shooting with grads just from that perspective. But what I'm really looking forward to with using the magnetic is actually the ease of use. This video could go completely awry, and I could be out in the field in the next 10 minutes and find that for me personally, these don't work. But I'm really hoping that, especially in gnarly conditions, these allow me to step up my game, so to speak, or at the very least, don't get in the way. And at the end of the day, that's what all of this kit is about. Whether you're shooting with an iPhone or whether you're shooting with a Hasselblad, whatever kit you're shooting with should not get in the way of you making images. It should become kind of just something completely invisible, allowing you to 100% focus on the craft of photography rather than the tech. So that's what I'm hoping these will become. So as I say, I have brought myself back down to Ballintoy. Now it is a completely different day today. And in fact, the weather over the next week looks very benign. I think we have a high pressure blocker is what the weather gurus call it. And that basically has left us with pretty low winds, pretty laden skies, not much light, not much rain, not much nothing really. But I really wanted to come down and just try these bad boys out. So I've gone for, now again, I am not a tech person. I used to be in my previous life, massive tech person. Pretty sure this is a 3-stop, a 6-stop, and a 10-stop along with a polarizer. If it's wrong, I'll put it up below, but pretty sure that's what's in here. That's the other thing as well. It comes with its own little pouch. Oh, previous ones didn't. I'm going to finish my coffee, and then we'll get outside and we will put these filters through their paces. I don't think we're going to get much light, if at all, but it will be good to put things through their paces. So let's do that. Oh, and can I just say one thing as well? I obviously didn't mention their name, but the chances are you know who it was. If that particular brand of filter is working for you, all power to you. This is not a rant against a particular company. It was my own personal opinion. It just wasn't working for me. And maybe after 2 years of use with these in pretty harsh conditions, these will have the same sort of impact. But for me personally, that particular system was getting in the way of me making images. And once things get in the way of me making images, I have to think about changing. So again, if it's working, if that particular brand of filter is working for you, don't listen to me. Do what works for you in your particular workflow. Right, enough rambling, Nigel. Get the coffee down the neck, and then we'll get outside. Outside, and the light is, as expected, pretty meh. What a change from the last time we were here. Oh man, this is just ridiculous. This is just not fun. Anyway, these old case filters. This is the, I've actually got the 10 to 24 on, which is actually going to be a challenge for me as well. Shooting quite wide on the X-T4. You know, I'm not a huge widey person, but as the 18 to 135 is in getting a bit of TLC, I'm on the 10 to 24. Anyway, so the case system, I'm sure everyone's very familiar with them. So at the moment, you buy a bunch of these kind of step-up rings, and they obviously go onto the front of your lenses. And then depending on what the biggest filter size you have, you also end up, that's what you kind of buy in terms of the magnetic piece. And then this just clicks on. This is a 77mm package that I got, because 77mm is the biggest at the moment thread that I have. Now, one thing I kind of noticed straight off the bat, so I really love how they come with their own lens cap, which means, again, for me, kit has to be all about quick access, especially today. It's very benign conditions. You know, today we can all just chill out, take cameras out of bags and screw things on and do a little dance and everything's good. But when you're being absolutely hammered by conditions, you've got to react very quickly. And so having your base step-up ring already on, and then being able to just put the click on is very good. However, and maybe this is something that I just need to buy some other various bits and pieces with, I'm assuming, or well, I take this off and I put this on another lens. I'm pretty sure my original lens cap now no longer fits on this, so I have to take this off to put the original lens cap on. Just a minor detail. Maybe I'm getting that wrong, but it would be great if even when I remove the 77mm portion of it, there was something that could go over this, so I could always keep this. What I really want is the step-up rings to stay on the lens 100% of the time, whether I'm using them or not. We'll have to wait and see whether I'm just being stupid there, which I have form. But I like that. I like the other thing that I've noticed as well, and it's going to be difficult to demonstrate this with one hand, with sort of like the way I'm doing it here. So right now I have the step-up ring, and I have the 77mm adapter on, and I have the lens cap. Now I want to kind of take the lens cap off quickly. Oh, the 77mm thing comes off as well. Ugh. So I guess what you need to do is, hang on. Whew. Again, a very small kind of gripe, but I'm just thinking again, it's absolutely hammering it down. I kind of want quick access to things. The fact that your 77mm magnetic bit comes off as well. Ugh. It does come off, just takes a little bit of effort if you just want to take the lens cap off by itself. Let's see whether we can get something set up and throw on some of these filters. So it's a filter. I'm not sure how excited you can get about a filter, but suffice to say, from a usability point of view in the field, I can certainly see this being a huge step up from what I've been using. Now, as I say, today the conditions are very benign, so we've got plenty of time and no sort of weather coming in on the filters themselves, but so far so good. Now, I've just shot a wide shot 10mm. Doesn't look like there's any vignetting with the circular polarizer and the 10 stop on. It might be, I'm not sure whether or not there's vignetting if I was to stack these, the ultra thin sort of filters. This is the 10 stop here. The one thing I would say, certainly just the magnetic forces in there. So I've just taken the kind of filters off the front of the lens, and coming away together has been the circular polarizer and the filter. Now, I don't always want to, in fact, I don't really want to have to do that. What I'd rather do is only remove the ND filter. So it's probably going to be a case of having to click a little fingernail in there or something. So I think from a usability point of view, definitely going to be a step up. And apologies, I'm sure there's 90% of people watching this who have already joined the magnetic party. I'm certainly very late to that. So the images that I'm going to put up today are straight out of camera, JPEGs, no manipulation done in post. I say this is more to do with testing out those filters. So I'll throw a couple of images up now and we'll wander on, but the light's horrible. But we'll have another little play around and see whether we can get one more image with this new filter set. So brought myself down to the little secret, not so secret beach, and it's actually lovely today because obviously it's a very slack tide, so you can kind of get a little bit closer to the water's edge. And of course I'm the only one down here, so apart from my own big clodhopper footprints, it's a lovely smooth out beach. And I've always loved the colour of the sand down here, even on an overcast day. The sort of contrast of the colour of this sand compared with the sort of water and the black rocks is just beautiful. Now, shooting with what probably will become my favourite filter. I was shooting there before with the 10 stop. I don't do a huge amount of super long exposure photography, so I'm not sure how much the 10 stop would get used. But I'm now shooting with the 6 stop. Now, my favourite filter with the previous system was the 4 stop, and that's because I love to keep sort of energy and sort of just have a couple of seconds exposure, as a lot of us photographers like to do. Now, the pack that I got also came with a 3 stop. Obviously that will be useful at the very edges of sunrise and sunset, but I think the 6 stop is probably going to be my most utilised filter out of this set. And again, no great shakes in terms of, the filters themselves. They're doing a grand job, but again, just that ease of use, being able to kind of remove the filter very quickly, recompose, and then pop the filter back on again. Now, I'm shooting right out at 10mm. What I found with the other system was if I was shooting slightly zoomed in, so say on my 18-135, I was out at 20, 25, 30mm or something, the whole art of putting the actual holder system on actually moved the composition, moved the zoom on the lens. So obviously dropping these filters, or just clicking these filters on, hopefully will avoid that as well. So another little plus sign. But yeah, it is lovely. I mean, the light's hopeless. What we do have is out sort of on the right hand corner of the frame, there is a little bit of light, which I think, just listening, like you can normally, I think I've said this before, when you spend a lot of time at the coast, you can normally tell when there's been a slight change in the wave formation. I think we're about to start getting slightly sort of higher waves now. And obviously what I'm trying to do is have a wave that doesn't hit this bit of weed down in the foreground, but just sort of provides a little bit of sort of movement just in front of it. So all rather nice indeed. Right, well, I'll throw up the images here, and again, straight out of camera. There's going to be zero manipulation with these. This really was just a bit of a test with the old filters themselves. So, and the other good thing about the 6-stop is, and I spoke of this again many times as well, so obviously when I put the 6-stop on, originally with the circular polarizer shooting in an f9, I actually gave you the aperture there, not f something or other. Oh, slipping up. I was getting about a 5-second exposure, which is fine, but I didn't want to muck about with my aperture, so I ended up then just increasing the ISO to about 250. Again, no issues there with the camera sort of supporting that sort of ISO. Just going to fire off a shot there. There's some nice movement coming on the waves. And that was giving me about a 3-second exposure, which was actually closer to what I was looking to do. So again, don't be afraid to play about with that ISO to get the shutter speed. That's what you want there, one of those bad boys. Oh. I'm going to take a quick Jeff Duke down. Because there is a little bit more light on the right hand side of the frame, it is actually sort of providing somewhere for the eye to kind of traverse through. Now, ideally, the light would be maybe lighting up those rocks a little bit more, but I guess we're stuck with what we have. But yeah, I'll throw up an image from here and we'll see what else we can find. Well, the GoPro decided to die midway through my last shoot. I took myself over to the little harbour again, and it's a little scene that I've shot many times before, and I really like it. I think because of the sort of gnarly old rope. So I just threw the 10-stop on, just to smooth out the water. I'm still shooting on the 10-24, so I was in a square format, and I was sort of pointing mostly downwards to avoid getting in any of the sky. There's no real movement or texture in the clouds, so no point in including any of that. But I have to say, first impressions of the case system are very positive. Certainly from a sort of manageability and a usability point of view, I think they're going to bring sort of another level to my sort of photography experience, which is good. And hopefully, you know, I'll get more used to sort of, certainly as the shoot went on, I got more and more used to just removing the filter and leaving the polarizer on there. So I think that's my fat fingers rather than any design issue. I need to kind of work out this whole, I'd love to be able to keep the step-up rings on, a lens cap, but I'm not sure whether that's possible or not, but maybe it is. Maybe you'll shout at me in the comments. But comments? I have the quietest audience known to man. No one ever comments. Right, well, I will put up this final image. You'll see that I've made it back to the van. I'll put up this final image now from the harbour. And as I say, all these images straight out of camera. The main point for today's vlog was really just to test the case system. So I'm going to jump in the van, head back to home base and grab some lunch. Once again, hope you've enjoyed this little ramble out on the Causeway Coast. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye.